So let's get into this big story out of Chicago. And listen, if you want to see how bad things can get when you have Democratic leadership in a major city that has almost everything going for it, look no further than Chicago, ladies and gentlemen. Look no further. And so you got this story going on. You got this situation happening where you have several stores in Chicago South and West Side. They're closing their doors for good in a few low-income neighborhoods. And of course, now you have the mayor, Brandon Johnson, blaming President Trump because they say one of the reasons for the closures is that the changes to SNAP benefits have caused these businesses to struggle. And so basically, part of the reason the store couldn't survive is because it wasn't receiving the same amount of taxpayer-funded dollars through these government programs. Now, naturally, you got the local community, a majority of which is black. They're upset and they're complaining now because they're no longer going to have a grocery store located directly inside their neighborhood. And they're going to have to travel further out to buy food. These are in total 7 Save-A-Lot grocery stores. That's the name of the chain, Save-A-Lot. But remember, this is Chicago. We are not talking about communities where there is absolutely nothing around for miles and miles and miles and miles. The main complaint is that the grocery store will no longer be located centrally right in the immediate neighborhoods. And so this is really more about inconvenience than an actual food desert like you're going to hear it be described in a few of these clips. But I want to talk about this story because once you hear everything that was happening with these stores since they opened, you're going to ask yourself how they managed to remain open for this long and who thought it was a good idea to put taxpayer money behind these stores in the first place. And so we got a lot to get into, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you enjoyed the content, the best way you can tell me is by smashing that thumbs up button. Subscribe to stay locked in with future videos, and shout out to everybody who stays and watch to the end. You know, I appreciate you guys. Let's go ahead and start right here.
Several Save-A-Lot stores on the city's south and west sides are on track to shut down by the end of the week. The looming closures would make it even harder for residents in underserved neighborhoods to access fresh groceries. WGN's Jenna Barnes joins us live with the details. Jenna?
Yeah, Mike, the cost of living is expensive. Groceries are expensive. And the shoppers we met out in Inglewood today are frustrated that they could lose one of the few convenient and affordable grocery stores they have. Discounts and disappointment for shoppers at the Save-A-Lot store at 63rd and Halsted.
We ain't going nowhere to go. We need affordable things to be able to feed our kids.
All 7 Save-A-Lot stores operated by a company called Yellow Banana are set to shut down Saturday unless new investors step in. Save-A-Lot blaming financial challenges for ending its arrangement with the operator.
So within a 2-mile stretch, we're losing 2 grocery stores within the Inglewood community.
This one used to be a Whole Foods. It closed in 2022, and we were there as Yellow Banana was planning to open the new store. Inglewood pushed back.
We wanted something substantial, something that we knew would be viable for the community.
The city worked out a deal to give Yellow Banana $13.5 million to renovate rundown Save-A-Lot stores. Its CEO promised change.
These will be very, very different stores than what you're used to.
The Chicago Sun-Times reports he died earlier this year, and 3 years after those promises, the stores are set to close. In a statement, Save-A-Lot says they faced financial headwinds, including dramatic cuts to SNAP benefits, which have severely impacted these stores. Compared to last year, the stores have experienced a 26% decline in SNAP EBT tender types.
Obviously, our investments that we put forward to create these spaces in the first place speaks to my commitment to expanding access to fresh food. I'm certainly committed to finding ways in which we can ensure that groceries still exist in neighborhoods that have historically not had access to fresh food.
For neighbors, a solution can't arrive fast enough.
We barely have neighborhood grocery stores, and to know that they're closing more stores, it's gonna be hard for a lot of people to shop. Like, what grocery stores could you really go to?
Save-A-Lot says Yellow Banana is working to find an alternative before Saturday. Shoppers are hopeful they can find a way to stay open. We're live tonight. Jenna Barnes, WGN News.
Yeah, so you just heard that. And so I'm going to go ahead and break this down very simple because they're making a major deal about this because it happened in a low-income community in Chicago. But I'm going to break this down very simple for everybody to understand. You had a business that decided to open up. in a low-income neighborhood, and then that business had to shut down because the low-income neighborhood could not support that business. That's it. That's it. That's the whole story right there. You decide to open up a business, especially something like a grocery store that already has low margins to begin with, and you're doing it in a low-income neighborhood, and you mean to tell me a cut to SNAP? And we're going to get into that in a moment. I'm going to read you some numbers off of this because they weren't telling you the whole story about the whole SNAP thing. But the cut to SNAP was enough where it destroyed your business just like that? So you mean to tell me you couldn't survive unless you're getting government handouts? And so, before we even get into what I'm talking about here, let me jump into the next clip, and they're going to tell you a little bit more information. And then I'm going to come back with the information on SNAP that really tells you the full picture of why these stores end up closing. Take a listen to this.
Good evening. We're so glad you're here. I'm Allison Rosati.
And I'm Alex Maragos in for Stephen Holt. First here at 5 o'clock, Save-A-Lot grocery stores across Chicago could close this summer. All 7 locations could be shut down after the company decided to end its partnership with the grocery operator Yellow Banana.
NBC5's Rose Schmidt on the story for us. She's in the newsroom right now. And Rose, we understand you talked to customers who told you it's going to leave them with obviously fewer grocery store options.
Very few, Allison and Alex. So the city attributes this to the recent death of the CEO of Yellow Banana and cuts to SNAP benefits. A spokesperson for Save-A-Lot says the stores saw a 26% decline in SNAP purchases. They also told me Yellow Banana is exploring options to keep these stores open. But if that doesn't happen, the stores will be closing this Saturday.
Yeah, I'm going to say go ahead and close it up. I don't think it'd be smart for somebody to sit there and put their money and invest into it unless they just want to give money away. You go ahead and just go to the casino. If you want to get your money away, just go to the casino. But listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, because they told you the part about how the SNAP sales decline by about, they said 26, 27% year over year. According to the source, SNAP money at the 6 stores accounted for almost 50% of revenue. And so let me say this again. The stores have not paid for inventory for the past 6 or 7 months, largely because SNAP benefit cutbacks that came with the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill. According to the source, SNAP money at the 6 stores accounted for almost 50% of the revenue, ladies and gentlemen. How do you expect to run a business when it is that dependent on a government program to survive? It can't. And it was just proven here. Now, listen, I get it that, a grocery store, they're going to have some percentage of their revenue that comes from SNAP benefits. Okay, I understand that. They're going to have to eat some of those costs. I understand that. But we're talking whereas half came from SNAP benefits. And then they wonder why they had so many issues as far as being able to stay open. Of course, it's inevitable that this was going to happen. It almost makes you believe that they didn't even bother to look at any of the data, any of the research, understanding the community they were putting these grocery stores in. You just had the politicians, you just had the city step in and say, you know what? Put a grocery store here. We'll give you some money. Put a grocery store here and just do it. And ignore all of the data that said why this would not be a good idea and how you're basically flushing money down the toilet. But you know what? Let's finish out with the rest of this clip. Then I'm going to come back with some more on this whole story. So take a listen.
This will become a food desert. Finding grocery stores in this neighborhood is already as hard as it is.
Every day, you'll find these dental assistants shopping at Save-A-Lot near 79th and Halstead on their lunch break.
You have to think about those that are on fixed income, like the elderly people. It's affordable for them. It's close. It's accessible. So I really think it would be really detrimental to shut this store down within this community.
The store is in Alderman David Moore's ward.
What I hope happens next is that Yellow Banana finds another supplier that they can work with. That's what I'm hoping.
The city tells us Yellow Banana, Save-A-Lot, the city, and other financial partners are discussing opportunities to keep the stores open with potential investors or new suppliers. There were ribbon cuttings and grand reopenings after the city gave Yellow Banana $13.5 million to help refurbish 6 of the 7 stores, which are supposed to stay open through 2035. If they close, they must reopen as grocery stores within a year. The city's also looking at ways to recoup taxpayer funding if necessary.
I'm going to continue to do my part to make these necessary investments. The hope is that, our corporate leaders can come together to find a way. Again, the federal cuts have had profound impact on our local grocery stores.
The stores are spread out across the south and west sides, including in West Lawn. Alderman Marty Quinn even worked there in high school.
A lot of seniors live in the community. It's sort of a grab and go after they go to St. Mary's Star of the Sea Church. Stop here for some groceries on the way home. And there's a Little League field right across the street. So this has always been a grocery store. It's very, very important that it continues to be a grocery store.
The 7th Save-A-Lot store could also close with the rest of them. It's at 63rd and Halstead. It was supposed to remain open until next June, but if it closes, there needs to be a new grocer there within 18 months. Allison, back to you in the studio.
All right. Thank you, Rose. Hopefully they'll figure it out.
Hopefully.
Yeah, so there you have that, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, listen, that's part of the problem right there. You guys just heard them talking about the fact that the stores, the buildings have to be grocery stores. I mean, that was part of the deal with the city when they got the 13.5, that those stores have to remain grocery stores. So anybody who comes in, they have to make it a grocery store. That's part of the problem right there. City sticking their head into the business. I mean, nothing comes. I mean, people are going to learn. Like, you get the government trying to stick their head and dictate what the market going to do, and it doesn't end well. And so they basically trying to force business somewhere where business can't be successful. Here, put a grocery store here because it need to be one here. We'll figure some way to supplement it. We gonna give y'all some money to renovate it. I mean, did they actually do the research to understand, okay, what can this community afford? Can this community support a grocery store? Can this low-income communities that they decided to put these grocery stores in, can they support them? Or did they just throw them in there? I mean, really, 50% of SNAP benefits, as I just told you guys before, 50% of the revenue came from SNAP benefits. And so they were highly dependent on government assistance in order to be able to keep their doors open. And so let's get into this because there's more to this, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, when you hear everything that was going on with this place, you're going to have to ask yourself, one, how did it remain open that long? And two, who signed off on this in the first place? And so take a listen to this right here. Yellow Banana legal trouble started soon after its 2021 inception, shrinking from 38 stores across 5 states to 6 covered under the redevelopment agreement and a 7th in Inglewood. Since the deal, Canfield, that's the CEO, was also personally hit with lawsuits, liens, and foreclosures. Yellow Banana co-founders didn't respond to requests for comments. Yellow Banana was pitched to Chicagoans in 2022 as a black-owned company that wanted to reinvest in Save-A-Lot locations that came with the reputation for dirty stores, a rat infestation, and expired foods. Canfield was often the only Yellow Banana executive who appeared at community meetings and store openings. Emails reviewed by the Sun-Times show Canfield was the primary contact for the city. He also was the founder of dozens of other businesses, including real estate and general contracting records show. He recently poured time into hosting his podcast. His businesses faced many lawsuits and properties were foreclosed on, including his Cleveland office, currently up for a tax sale. His real estate companies have been accused of negligence, fraud, and breach of contract. Since 2021, Yellow Banana and Canfield have faced more than 20 lawsuits, liens, and tax foreclosures, totaling over $2.8 million. Who thought it was a good idea to get in business with this guy? I mean, I understand he's dead now, so you want to be respectful, but when he was alive, who thought this was the guy to get in business with? Like, really? because he was the only one who raised his hand and said, sure, I'll do it. I'll take on the task of opening up a grocery stores in low-income neighborhoods that I know can't survive unless they're receiving government assistance. I mean, come on, really. The bulk of that was filed against Yellow Banana by contractors and vendors like PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, alleging they hadn't been paid by delivery, goods, and services. And so this was a dumpster fire from the beginning. I mean, from the very beginning, this was a dumpster fire, ladies and gentlemen, that was doomed to fail. It wasn't a matter of if, it was only a matter of when. But those are my thoughts and the update. Now I want to hear from you. Drop your comments down below. I appreciate when you guys chime in. Don't forget you enjoyed the content. Smash that thumbs up for more. Subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.